Now let us start with the topic SAP HANA migration to HANA DB. In this topic, we will be learning about techniques in performing migration from classical database, that is any database, to SAP HANA. So to be specific, we will be learning about heterogeneous system copy technique where we will perform migration to HANA DB database. And here we will learn about tools, for example, standard SAP tools in executing migrations from any traditional database to new DB, that is HANA database. Firstly, let us understand what do we mean by migration to SAP HANA. In simple terms, to make any SAP solutions leverage the benefits of SAP HANA, we need to make them run on SAP HANA using it as primary database. So we have learned about different scenarios where HANA can be used as a data mart and solutions can leverage this data mart as a secondary database and perform reporting and other possibilities with SAP HANA. But to gain full advantage of SAP HANA database, that is to leverage its complete benefits, it makes sense to have the solutions running on top of SAP HANA. So we know that we have implemented a lot of SAP solutions on other databases. Those are termed as the traditional databases. Now they have to be moved to SAP HANA so that it can be used as the primary database. So by performing migration using certain standard techniques and tools available, we will be able to make these solutions run directly on top of SAP HANA database using it as the primary database. So this is basically achieved by performing heterogeneous copy of solution. So by heterogeneous copy of solution, what do we mean? See, heterogeneous system copy has the following characteristics. It is termed as heterogeneous if operating system is changing, that is termed as OS migration to be specific, or if the database system is changing, that is RDBMS type is changing, that is termed as DB migration, or if both operating system and database systems are changing, where it is regarded as OSDB migration. So in case if we have a solution running on say platform Windows and we are changing to Linux, it is termed as OS migration. And if we have a database, say for example MaxDB, which has to be changed to HANADB, then that is termed as database migration. Or if operating system and database system are changing, then it is termed as OSDB migration. So either OS which is changing or database, say for example from Oracle to HANA-DB, then it is termed as database migration, or if both are changing, then it is termed as OSDB migration. And to support this, there are several techniques or tools available. Say for example, software provisioning manager, in simple terms called as SWPM, SAP Inst, R3 load, migration monitor, and the most important option, that is data migration option in SUM tool. Now let us briefly understand what each tool is about. Coming to software provisioning manager 1.0, it offers many services including system installation and system copy. So by this we mean we can set up SAP solutions and also perform system copies, that is do an export and import of the SAP solutions to build another solution, that is also termed as for performing OSDB migrations. So especially for SAP HANA, we can fully benefit from the latest corrections regarding performance, robustness and scale out through a fast delivery cycle option in software provisioning manager. So This SWPM can be directly downloaded from the service marketplace, and it offers the option for taking the export of the database from any traditional database, and also for doing the import into the SAP HANA database. And similarly, coming to SAP Inst, which is the traditional tool for performing the installation, and this also offers the system copy option, where similarly we can take the export and do the import. And coming to R3 load, R3 load is an executable which performs all load tasks in a database, and it's a platform independent tool. So basically how it operates is it generates the database export of all SAP objects that are defined in the ABAP dictionary and archives the configuration and components in the file system. So this tool is responsible for performing the load of ABAP tables into the target database also, that is perform the import. So it is available via the kernel of the ABAP application server. See, even though we call SWPM or SAP Inst, it internally calls R3 load executable for performing the load. That is unload and then load. Unload points to export, load points to import. And coming to migration monitor is termed as Migmon, is a part of software provisioning manager again, and it basically uses the ext, whrvar, str, tpl files to control the unload and load. So to accelerate the load by automatic parallelization, and to generate the R3 load task and command files like tsk, cmd files, we know that Migmon can do the migration as mentioned here. So this is how it does. It creates R3 load command files, task files to unload, uh, and runs the processes to unload, transfers packages, and then starts R3 load processes to load data, and also shows any errors, major errors, which can help in troubleshooting. So basically, Migmon is a tool which can be downloaded from the service marketplace as a SAR file, and then unpack it and make use of the export and the import scripts available to generate the load from the source database and to copy this load into the target database. And now coming to database migration option in SUM. A database migration option is just an option but not a tool in SUM. We know that SUM is a maintenance tool which is basically used for release upgrades, for applying support packages, for applying enhancement packages. So this DMO procedure is available as an option with the SUM tool, which comes with a special UI which is based on SAP UI5, which runs on a JavaScript library and is based on jQuery. So using this new user interface, and which offers certain special advantages with respect to migration, we can again do a migration from any traditional database to HANA database. That is, DMO option offers special advantages where we can combine the upgrade and migration and also Unicode conversion. See, in other migration techniques, what mentioned here, like SWPM, SAP and Start-Reload, Migmon tools, we have to first perform an Unicode conversion, then upgrade, and then migrate. That is, if a solution is running on a non-Unicode format and with a lower solution release, which is not supported on HANA, and with any other classical database, in such cases, we have to first perform an Unicode conversion, make it Unicode, and then upgrade the solution to the start release of SAP HANA and then migrate the solution, that is take the export and then import to SAP HANA. But in case of DMO option, what happens is we don't have to perform these steps separately, but we can club all these steps and run them together. That is, it offers option to perform Unicode conversion as well as do upgrade and as well as take the export and then make the import and then make the solution run on SAP HANA. So it's in one shot migration technique available where we don't have to run export and import separately, but in one option we can do both export import at the same time. We can do Unicode conversion and upgrade. And basically, what are the phases of execution? Phases of execution points to preparation for migration, where we will run certain scripts and we will check certain settings, check for file system space, download the packages for running the migration, download the software component packages, download the migration key, download the license key, and then once the preparation steps are completed, we will run the migration execution using standard tools which are mentioned here. And once the migration is completed, we will perform the post migration steps. That is, we will perform the post adjustment to SAP solution once it is running on SAP HANA. Post migration steps like performing the migration check just to verify if all the checks or all the objects after the migration are consistent, and installing the license, and yeah, running the necessary background jobs for housekeeping activities, and configuring to certain tools for regular monitoring, and so on. There are a lot of steps with respect to post migration steps. Now let us understand more about using DMO. As I said, this topic is more focused towards DMO procedure available in some tool. So as I said, DMO is an option in an existing tool within SUM, that is Software Update Manager. And as we know, Software Update Manager is a trusted tool for system maintenance activities like release upgrade, EHP installation, applying support package stacks for SAP solutions, post SAP solution installation. So once we have the SAP solutions installed for any post activities during the life cycle like release upgrade, EHP installation or support package installation, we make use of SUM tool, which offers a very good user interface. But this SUM tool has been enhanced to provide the DMO procedure option, which is very specific to migration of an existing solution to SAP HANA database. So, as I said, it is regarded as an one-step migration tool where we can club Unicode conversion, upgrade, and then migration together. See, in case of classical migration techniques, SAP database required a specific release or version of the SAP software. So in this case, we had to first upgrade the solution to a particular release and then perform the migration. But DMO avoids this pre-upgrade and then migration as separate steps, but clubs both these steps where it will do the upgrade and then migration both. So it's an upgrade come migration option in SUM tool, and it is launched by downloading the SUM tool and then launching uh, sumstart.bat and then launching the browser through which we will start the DMO option. More details into it we will be explaining in the further sessions. I mean the further slides. So now let us understand using a picture how classical migration procedure was being executed and how DMO procedure will be executed. So as I said, in classical migration procedure, we will first convert to Unicode based system and upgrade the solution to the release supported by SAP HANA and then migrate in a separate set of steps. So migration in the sense we take the export, copy the export to the target database and then do the import using this load. So say for example, we have to transform ERP 6.0 or NetWeaver 7.0 running on kernel 7.0, that is 700, to be running on HANA database. So for this, see as shown here, we have to first update using SUM tool, make it a release which is supported by SAP HANA database. Say for example, NetWeaver 7.4, 740 is supported, and ERP 6.0 EHP7, which is based on NetWeaver 7.4 is supported, and kernel should be 7.4. And then we have to do the migration using the SWPM tool, that is take the export and then import, so that finally we will have a solution running on HANA 1.2. But prior to this, we have to perform the Unicode conversion, make it Unicode compatible. But coming to DMO procedure, see we can convert to Unicode, upgrade and then migrate in one step. That is prepare, upgrade and then migrate. Prepare in the sense, prepare for it to be Unicode, do the upgrade and then migrate. So prepare in the step where we will have certain preparation steps, where it will have certain input steps. It will take the inputs like credentials, XML files, and the location of software packages and so on, and then do the upgrade and then later on do the migration. That is, it switches from traditional database to new DB, that is HANA DB. See, this is how it works. Say for example, we have SAP NetWeaver solution running on any traditional database on an application server. Say both CIDB are on the same server. What DMO procedure does is it switches from this database, which was the primary database, to HANA database, which will be the primary database. So this network breaks and SAP NetWeaver solution starts to work with this network. That is, it connects to HANA DB as the primary database using the DMO procedure. And no doubt this database is still kept, but it is stopped. And once we start using HANA database and once we feel that there is no problem with the HANA database, it is stable enough to support the solution, we can remove the contents of the traditional database which is still present. But if in case we see that there is a problem with the HANA database, it is not stable, it is not built properly, we can anytime fall back to the traditional database since its contents are still available. So we will have a testing phase until when this database will be still retained on the server, and once we feel HANA database is good to be continued, we will remove the contents of it. So from there on, solutions can run on HANA in full swing. So this is how DMO procedure offers an one-step migration option to run any SAP solution on SAP HANA. Now let us understand the process involved, that is different steps involved in the DMO procedure. What are the prerequisites that must be met before starting the procedure? So coming to prerequisites, we should have support pack or IR required for SAP Basis 7.0 is ABAP only. That is the ABAP solution which is to be moved to SAP HANA must have minimal SAP Basis version as 7.0 running on support pack 17 level. And next is this ABAP solution should have STPI plugin required for maintenance activity. And make sure if a dual stack system is running, the dual stack system is split, because we should have only AS ABAP running on HANA database. No doubt now AS Java is also supported on HANA database, but we cannot run a dual stack system on SAP HANA database, which is not recommended. But we can run AS ABAP and AS Java separately on HANA database. And there are specifications for start release of database to be met. Say for example, minimum release for an Oracle database is 10.2 and minimal release for DB6 database is 9.1, and similarly for MaxDB it is 7.8, and for MS SQL it is 2008, and for Sybase it should be 15.7. So with this start releases, we are good to use the DMO procedure for moving the solution to SAP HANA. And we should have the latest version of SAP host agent installed on the primary application server. Since the SUM tool is run on the primary application server, we should have the latest version of the SAP host agent. Next is stack.xml and the software component upgrade files must be available. That is, stack.xml must be created and software component upgrade files must be downloaded using the maintenance optimizer in the SAP solution manager, that is using MOPSI, and they must be available in the file system on the database server. And then migration key has to be requested. It must be downloaded from the service marketplace by providing the proper information, and SAP license file for the target system has to be requested, and web browser must be updated to latest release. That is, if we are using Internet Explorer or Chrome or Firefox, there are latest releases available which must be installed on the local desktop where we are running the SUM web browser, or where, for example, if we are running it in a Windows server, which is the primary application server, it must be updated there. So make sure also the stack.xml and the software files are available on the file system where we are running the, so for example, the primary application server. So once all these prerequisites are met, we are good to start with the DMO option. We will talk about how DMO option is initiated, but now for the timing, let us understand how the process works to upgrade the system and then migrate it to SAP HANA. See, in this picture, we have various steps mentioned, and here we are moving from traditional database to SAP HANA database. SAP system, which was talking on traditional database, starts to move to SAP HANA database as the primary database. So step one, which is regarded as the upgrade prepare step, is a step where we provide certain inputs. It's an input phase where we provide the stack.xml, passwords, download folder, and using this it prepares the users and schema required. And next is about step 2, where it executes an uptime upgrade. So in step 2, it involves a creation of a shadow repository on the source database and shadow kernel as well on the primary application server, and this happens during the uptime processing as seen here. So the end users can still use the system without any problem. And SAP HANA database is installed and kept ready. That is, only the database software must be installed and kept ready. And shadow repository, which is prepared on the source database, is copied to the target database in step 2. And then in step 3, we will have switch to the downtime. That is, from uptime we are moving to downtime phase. In step 3, system will be no longer available to end users because the actual migration, the actual switch to SAP HANA database takes place in step 3 and as well as step 4. But no doubt the source database is still running but cannot be used for any changes or any new transactions. So during which the database connection from the traditional database to HANA database takes place. And next is step 4, where the actual downtime phase runs. That is, source database will no longer be running, but we will have the application data being migrated to HANA DB completely. That is, by application data we mean the data structures and the tables which will be migrated to HANA DB. So the actual tables which hold the data, that is the application tables, will be migrated to HANA DB during the downtime phase. So as I said, step 3 and step 4 are regarded as the downtime phase, during which we cannot use the source database. No doubt in step 3, database still will be running, but cannot be used for any changes or for making any new entries to the database. And step 4 is the actual migration, where the complete switch takes place. And during step 4, once the application data is migrated, and proceeding to step 5, where the finalization of the upgrade and migration activities takes place, during which the switch of SAP solution, that is SAP system, to new kernel supported by HANA database, that is basically 740 kernel, is made. And then finally, in step 6, SAP HANA database gets started and is ready for use. So with this, we have the SAP solution running on SAP HANA database. So with all these steps, we have Unicode conversion, upgrade activities, and migration activities executed in one shot. So we have upgrade prepare, execute upgrade, and switching the database connection, actual migration of application tables, and then finalization, and then start to complete this activity as a whole. So during this complete procedure, the source database continues to run. That is until step 3. From 4, it stops. And we should always keep in mind, DMO procedure offers an easy reset in case if it is required. In case if we see there's a problem with the upgrade that we are doing, we are stuck with some problem, we need a reset, DMO procedure offers the reset procedure. And as the source database is not changed, is not touched for any changes, because we create a shadow repository here, similar to how an upgrade is run, we create a shadow repository and make all the changes there. So shadow repository will contain the target releases already. That is, all the application data there will be prepared for the target release. So the source database is untouched. So it remains unchanged. So anytime we want to fall back to the traditional database, we can do it. And when we reset the DMO procedure, the shadow repository which was built on the source database gets deleted and all other artifacts are reset as well. So with this, we have now understood what are the prerequisites and how the process of DMO runs. Now let us understand in more detail about procedure involved in starting the DMO option and uh, a little brief information about different steps again. So here we see that we have to first download the latest SUM package from the SL toolset. That is, SL toolset is a part of Service Marketplace. SUM tool must be downloaded from there and it must be located on the primary application server where the system is running. And the source system is still running, which is based on the existing kernel executables running. So it is comprised of an instance, as we know, which has the work processes running on the application server and is based on the source release. And we know that the source database comprises of application data and the repository. This source repository is regarded as the PRD repository here, that is production repository, which is used by the system. Okay, so with this convention, we are good to proceed. Now, once the latest SUM tool package is downloaded, we have to unpack it in a location. And then next is we have to configure the host agent. So no doubt as a prerequisite, we have installed the latest host agent version. And we have to configure the DMO user interface for running with sumstart.bat. That is, we have a command like sumstart.bat config host agent, which must be run so that host agent understands the SUM signals, because DMO procedure is launched from a browser like this. This is the format. So once we launch it, it sends HTTP request to SAP host agent. So to understand this HTTP request, that is to understand the source, we have to first configure the DMO UI using the sumstart.bat executable, which is a part of SUM tool package for the host agent to understand. That is, we have to run sumstart.bat command with an option config host agent. So this prepares a file where the information of the host agent is maintained. And then we are good to start the, that is launch the DMO procedure in the browser like this. We have to provide the host name, use the port 1128, provide the SID, and then launch it in the browser. But make sure latest version of the browser is used. And then once we launch it, HTTP request is generated, which is sent to the SAP host agent. And since this program is launched based on a sub app solution, we have SAP program started. And this SAP program is called by the host agent. If you see here, when we launch the browser, sends the HTTP request, which initiates the SAP program, which is a part of SUM tool. And this SAP program will call the R3 load programs, R3 load kernel programs. So then we have the step 1 initiated, where we have the basic configuration settings, which is the input phase for checking the stack.xml, passwords, download directory. And then SAP will start to create a shadow system. Shadow system consists of shadow repository and shadow instance as shown here. shadow repository will be built on the source database, and shadow kernel will be prepared on the primary application server, which will be the step 1. And we know that shadow repository would contain basic tables and some customizing tables, similar to how it happens in SUM. And these shadow repository basic tables and customizing tables will be already updated to the target release during uptime, which will be the step 2. We have uptime upgrade running there, where these basic tables and customizing tables will be prepared to the target release. And we should keep in mind, PRD repository is not disturbed, and hence it is still available to end users. And this shadow repository is based on the shadow kernel, which is running on the primary application server, but for the target release, that is for the target release supported by SAP HANA. If source kernel is 700, shadow kernel will be 740, which is supported for SAP HANA. And shadow repository will contain basic tables and customizing tables running on target release. So, and we should keep one point in mind: to run this shadow repository, should have additional space on the source database. So we should make sure we have enough space available on the source database to accommodate the shadow repository. And next is shadow repository, which is built on the target release, gets ready, and then in step 3, development lock is applied. That is, system is no longer available for any development activities. That is, it is entering the downtime phase, and during which SAP up will trigger the R3 load, which copies, that is, which exports the shadow repository to HANA database, which is the target repository now. And another R3 load to import this shadow repository to target repository. So there are two R3 loads triggered for this export import activity internally. And then finally in step 4, system is completely shut down for upgrading the application tables. That is, the switch of the application tables, which are very important, which hold the actual data, to target release takes place. That is, by transfer of application data, we mean update according to release change, which is with the help of these R3 load processes, which are running in parallel on the primary application server. So finally, switch to target kernel also takes place. That is, switch from shadow to target kernel. No doubt shadow kernel was running on the target release. So this switch again will be to the same release, that is 740. And this kernel becomes the new kernel for the HANA database. And with this preparation of target repository and target kernel, now the solution is, we have the solution leveraging the capabilities of SAP HANA. And once DMO is successful, that is DMO procedure is completed successfully, we have the shadow repository removed along with the procedure completion, and the system runs on HANA database with the target kernel. So additionally, we should know that with DMO procedure, we can configure any number of R3 load parallel processes to run for the export and import. We get the configuration setting option when we run the DMO procedure, during which we can provide the number of parallel processes involved. And this can operate in two modes. We should understand, one is pipe and other is file. Using pipe, it runs through memory. For file, it creates temporary export files which must be available on a shared directory between the servers. And then the import is done. Once the import is done, these temporary export files are deleted. And we should also know that what are the necessary software downloads required. We should have some package tool, and we should have software components upgrade packages available. We should have spam saint update packages. We should have HANA client package, and we should have source and target kernel packages. These are the software downloads necessary. And additionally, as discussed, we should have the migration key, and we should have the license key for the target system. And with this, now we have understood the procedure, how DMO works, how it is launched, and how it does the upgrade and migration. So this picture shows how we configure the host agent. As I told you, we have to run the sumstart.bat, which will be under sum package under subdirectory abap. Configure the host agent. So sum will be registered in SAP host agent for it to understand if, that is, when HTTP request is sent to host agent, it should recognize that it should proceed to start the SAP up program. This is the file which will be created when we configure the host agent. Under this standard directory, we have sumstart.conf file created. And once the registration is completed, we can launch the browser using this extension, providing the host name, port 1128. We should mention the SID, make sure, and then log in with SID ADM user and password. And then this is the user interface that we get for performing the DMO procedure. As I told you, first phase will be the input phase, where it will ask the stack.xml and credentials, the download directories, the migration key, and then the further processes will run. And you can see, similar to sum tool, we have roadmaps here. Here we have 6 roadmaps. So this upgrade runs through all these roadmaps to make the solution run on SAP HANA. So here you can see we have extraction, configuration checks, pre-processing, execution, post-processing. So execution is the main phase where the downtime execution runs, where the actual switch to target release takes place, where we have the development lock placed. So before execution, in pre-processing, we will have the development lock placed, and then the execution takes place, and further we will have the post-processing phase. And once the solution is built on SAP HANA, we have to manually run certain post installation or post migration steps, like performing the backup and scheduling the housekeeping jobs and verifying the migration check and making sure all the tables are converted to in memory properly, and there are BW specific steps which are required. We can have post copy automation checks run, and so on. So until now we have understood the process and the procedure of DMO. So finally, let us understand what are the benefits it offers. So benefits with respect to how it works when comparison to classical migration tool. So first one is, it offers combined procedure which needs only one maintenance phase but not two. So this points to upgrade and migration. In classical techniques, we had first upgrade then migrate. So there were two maintenance phases, but this tool combines both these phases, makes it one, which is called as one step procedure. So this reduces the business downtime as a whole. So total cost of ownership is reduced, and less regression tests necessary, and less efforts necessary as a whole. And next is it offers in place migration, that is keeps application server and SID stable. So there is a low impact on the system landscape. Only there is a new database server introduced, which is the HANA database. So we still have the source database even after the migration. That is called as the in-place migration. And the landscape picture is not changed. We still have the same application SID being used, but it connects to HANA DB as the primary database. Next is original database is still kept, again the same. So can be used for fallback. So it reduces the risk, no restore is required, and we can fall back immediately in case of any problems with SAP HANA database that we see and we decide not to use it, we can fall back to traditional database there itself. And DMO also offers reset procedure. So during the upgrade as well, we can do a reset and fall back to the source database. If we see that DMO procedure is running for a long time, the downtime is getting exceeded, which points to some problem, then we can fall back to the source database and continue the business. So business continuity will not be impacted. And finally, low prerequisites for SAP and DB start releases. As I said, it can start with a low release of SAP NetWeaver 700 with SAP Basis component SP17 level. So it has very low prerequisites compared to other migration techniques. Whereas other migration techniques needs SAP solutions to be running on a release supported by SAP HANA database, then we can take the export and do the import. That is when we can do the migration. But coming to DMO procedure, it demands a very low release of SAP solution of 700. And similarly for DB start releases also. I have already mentioned the DB start releases which can be used. So totally it reduces the effort also involved in getting the prerequisites ready. Because what happens in traditional database migration techniques is that prerequisite preparation takes a long time. But using DMO procedure, this is avoidable. We can have very low prerequisites requirement and then proceed with the migration. At cases, we can even avoid the update of source database. So with all this, with reduced business downtime, reduced risk, reduced effort, and low impact on the system landscape, no doubt DMO offers great benefits, great advantages for doing the migration to SAP HANA database. So with this, we have come to the end of this topic where we have understood how SAP solutions can be migrated to SAP HANA database using DMO procedure in Zoom tool.